So you're new to the US and there's a ton to figure out, right? One of the trickiest things can be this whole 9-digit number business. You hear people talking about the Social Security number, the SSN, and then you hear about the Individual Taxpayer Identification Number, or ITIN. They kind of look the same. They're both used for taxes. So what's the deal? Are they the same thing? Well, let's dive in and solve this puzzle for good.
So here's how we're going to break it all down for you. First, we'll set up the main puzzle. Then we'll get into the absolute basics of what an SSN and an ITN even are. After that, we'll put them side by side so you can really see the difference. Then we'll get practical with some real-world scenarios. And finally, we'll show you why you should think of these numbers as powerful tools for your new life here.
Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, the 9-digit number puzzle. This is really the heart of the confusion, and it's probably why you're here.
You've probably heard these terms thrown around, right? SSN, ITIN, you know they both have 9 digits, and you know they're important. So the big question is, can you just, use them interchangeably? And this is a really critical question because getting this wrong can cause some serious headaches later on.
All right, no more waiting around. Let's get straight to it in Section 2 and cover the basics. I'm going to give you that clear, simple answer you've been looking for.
And here it is, the big reveal. Nope, not at all. They are definitely not the same thing. I mean, yeah, they look alike, but they come from totally different government agencies, and they're used for completely different reasons. So let's start with the SSN, the Social Security number. This one's issued by the Social Security Administration, or the SSA. The key phrase you got to remember here is permission to work. If you are legally allowed to work in the U.S., you're a citizen, a green card holder, or a student with work authorization like CPT or OPT, then the SSN is the number for you.
And then you've got the ITIN, the Individual Taxpayer Identification Number. This one comes from the IRS, the tax folks. And its whole reason for existing is to give people who can't get an SSN a way to file their taxes and follow U.S. tax law.
Now, this next part is super, super important. You absolutely cannot have both an SSN and an ITN at the same time. They're mutually exclusive. So if you start out with an ITN and then later on you get work authorization and become eligible for an SSN, you have to go get that SSN and then let the IRS know.
Okay, so now that we've got the basics down, let's put these two numbers head to head in Section 3. This is where it's all going to click.
All right, take a look at this. This chart really lays it all out. For an SSN, the main purpose is for working and for tracking your benefits. But for an ITIN, it's strictly for filing taxes. And eligibility? It all comes down to work authorization for an SSN. For an ITIN, it's the exact opposite. Now here's a fantastic little trick. Look at the first digit. An ITIN always starts with a 9. And this last part is huge. An SSN is yours for life. An ITIN, though, can actually expire if you don't file taxes for 3 years in a row.
Okay, enough with the technical stuff. Let's get into what really matters, how this applies to your life. We're diving into some real-world scenarios.
First up, let's talk to all you international students out there, maybe on an F1 or J1 visa. For you guys, this choice is super practical. Okay, so for students, it's actually pretty simple. Think of it like this. If you get a job that gives you work authorization, like a job on campus or through CPT or OPT, you need an SSN, period. But let's say you don't have a job, but you did get a taxable scholarship or a grant. Well, you'll need an ITIN to report that income correctly when you file your taxes.
Okay, now let's switch gears and talk about the situation for new immigrants, who are often in that in-between phase.
For anyone who's a new immigrant, the ITIN is, honestly, a game changer. I love this idea of it being a bridge. While you're in that waiting period for a work permit or a green card, the ITN is what lets you start your financial life here. You can open a bank account, you can file taxes. It's huge. Then, once that work authorization comes through, you make the switch. You apply for your SSN, and that becomes your permanent number from then on.
So you see, the ITN isn't some second best option. Far from it. In this last section, let's talk about why it's actually an essential financial tool for you. Yeah, this quote really hits the nail on the head. You shouldn't think of the ITIN as a lesser version of an SSN. Instead, you got to see it for what it is, a really powerful tool designed specifically to help newcomers get started in the U.S. financial system. And we're talking about real, tangible benefits here. I mean, with an ITN, you can open bank accounts, you can get back tax refunds that are rightfully yours. It even helps you prove you've been living in the U.S., which can be super important down the line. And maybe the biggest thing, it lets you start building a financial footprint in this country right from the get-go.
So, look, if you forget everything else we've talked about, just remember this one simple thing. The SSN is your work ID, the ITIN is your tax ID. That's it. That's the core difference in a nutshell. And there you have it, that whole 9-digit puzzle. Hopefully it's not so puzzling anymore. Based on your own situation, whether you have permission to work or you just need to file taxes, you now know exactly which 9 digits are the right ones for you.